I think what makes a good story is conflict. It's conflict. It's whether it's an internal conflict, like a character is dealing with issues that they're struggling with mentally, or if it's external conflict, a situation that they've been put in and they have to kind of figure a way out of it. And a lot of people say character makes a good story. Well, I think conflict shows us character. It shows us who these people are, and it's a reflection of who we are. So I feel a lot of films that struggle with story is because they don't quite have the conflict down. They don't know what their story is trying to figure out or trying to fight against, because every character is fighting against something. So. Absolutely plan. A lot of times it's very fluid, especially in the beginning stages. It's like a little germ of an idea, and sometimes you like explore it to see if it could go somewhere. Sometimes it's not quite working out exactly how you had imagined it, so you kind of back away or put it on the shelf for a couple months or something. With my current project, it was a story about a man who got trapped in an elevator. And I heard about that 2 years ago, and I kind of put it in the storage bank and just thought about it for that time. And then I pulled it back out when I was thinking about doing a project, and I kind of just formed the other aspects of the story, and it kind of just gelled and meshed together and moved. But I always start with a plan. I always start with an outline, and kind of put the basic points that I want, the basic, like, first this happens, then this happens, then this happens. And I've heard a lot of different theories and ways to do a story outline. I think the best I've heard thus far is in Save the Cat. A book called Save the Cat, and it's kind of the Bible for writing a screenplay. And a lot of studios use this model for their writing projects, which is great to use as like a backbone or as like a starting point. But I feel a lot of people can get lost in following that exact path and that exact plan. And I think your storytelling has to come from a deeper place than that. It's like if you're building a house and you get a plan for, this is the house, this is how you build it. And you're like, well, what if I want to add this little feature and add this feature? And then there's people who say, no, it has to be this, And I feel the better stories are the ones where people can explore different sides of themselves or different sides of the story and kind of raise questions with themselves. So definitely it starts with a plan. It starts with a very strict outline for me. I love to have every single scene kind of mapped out. But then from there, I just let myself go. Like sometimes I'll start writing and I'll be like on line number 25 of my 50 line outline, and I completely go off the rails and I go a different way. And it works. It seems to work. And so I think you have to be open to that kind of creativity and that inspiration. A lot of times when I'm filming something that I've created the story for or written the screenplay for, a lot of times you get in the habit of, okay, let's just show the action, let's just show what they're doing. But there's a lot of theories of how you should do that, how you should show. Personally, I am a fan of the idea that this film is a point of view, whether it's your point of view, the character's point of view, or a point of view that you want to raise a question to the audience for. But I think you have to let those questions determine what you show. Like, I can show a character pulling out a knife, and I can show the knife. What am I trying to say by showing that knife? Or can I have a character like this and just show him like this and say, okay, what's he got behind his back? And that raises other questions and other points of view. So I think it all depends on what is serving your point of view, which thus serves the story, because your story is your point of view. There's different theories and different ways that people do things, and I think Hollywood movies especially kind of say, let's just tell the story so people can pay their $12, feel good about themselves, and then go home. And then there's a lot of foreign movies and a lot of independent movies that say, no, let's raise questions, let's explore this a little bit, because it is a powerful medium. But ultimately, I think what wins out is the POV of the last person to touch it. If the studio is the last person to say, make this cut, this edit, this, music choice, then it's their perspective, it's their point of view. If the director is the one who has complete control over it and says, this is what I want to say, and some people may not get it, or some people may think it's stupid because it's not what they would want to see, but in the end it's his point of view, so they can't say anything about it. He did it, So I think all of the choices you make when filming have to come from that inner, this is my story, this is my point of view, this is what I'm trying to say. Whoever ends up being the last one to say that. I would say all of my films have a message. And I think that just comes from inherently me being who I am and what I believe in and what I hope other people can be, And so when I start writing a film, I think that's the first thing I think is, what's the theme of this movie? What's the message that I'm trying to convey in this movie? And then it gets really complicated from there on how to express that. A lot of the stories that don't do well, where the theme gets muddled or where people don't get the message of it, I think it's because they try too hard to tell you what the theme is. We as humans, we don't want people to tell us what to do. We don't want people to tell us how to think. We're open to new ideas and listening to other people, and we're definitely open to, manipulation of emotions. That happens all the time in Hollywood movies. But if you try and tell someone, this is the theme of the message, they're gonna outright reject it. And so when I have this theme that I've tacked onto my wall while I'm writing, and I'm thinking, okay, how does this scene represent that theme? I have to think of, how can I show that theme without telling them this is the theme? And I think, and it's fun too, when I rewrite, I go through and I was like, oh crap, this character actually said the theme of the movie, erase, 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 and then retype, because you don't actually want to tell them. You want them to come to that conclusion naturally, and you want them to bring their own experience to it. And actually it's funny, because I was talking to my wife about the current script that I'm directing right now, and she started asking me, so did you mean to put this in the script, this thematic element or whatever? And I was like, no. But that's awesome. I'm really glad you got that from it. That's a message that I believe in, and maybe inherently in my writing that came out, but I didn't intentionally do it, So I think that's the best kind of message that you can share in a story, is if people get it without you having to tell them that.